I wonder if I can.
Okay. Thank you, Neil.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, thank you. We are now
cool.
being recorded for other students.
Good. Okay, so I think we need, once
Thank
you're
you.
recorded, then someone need to upload to the YouTube channel.
Okay, that will come
Yeah, okay, don't worry. That's good. But anyway, we have recorded. Once we have recorded there. Okay, sorry. Well, I just start with like, that's okay. No worry. I I just start with some topics. Like these are big topic actually. Renunciation, bodhicitta, and wisdom and emptiness. These three are the main practice. If someone really wanted to free from affliction, and then if someone really seeking complete freedom from samsara. Samsara meaning, we are taking rebirth again and again without any choices. With the influence of affliction and contaminated karma or the negative karma, and we don't have freedom to choose where to go and where to take a rebirth. This affliction and the karma, the affliction, the contaminated karma, take us to throw into this misery, the like ocean of samsara. It's called known as the ocean of samsara, right? That's why I just started, and why I just say about the Gurupema Sambhava, because it's very important figure in Tibetan Buddhist history who brought Buddhism to Tibet and who helped to the Tibetan to establish the complete teaching of the Buddha in Tibet. And he was the person who played a great role with compassion to remove the obstacle. And when you say obstacle or obscuration, you have external obstacle and then inner. Inner is affliction, ignorance, attachment, and aversion. But there are external thing also. So when the Buddhist teaching was, like translating and then, establishing or creating new monasteries. Actually, Samye Monastery or the Samye Temple in central Tibet was the first monastic community in Tibet that, built by Shantarakshita, Acharya Shantarakshita, which we should put like honorific, or Bodhisattva Shantarakshita or Acharya Shantarakshita, Guru Pema Sambhava, and King Chisondes. And three of them worked so hard together to create the monastery, Samye Monastery, okay? You need to know the name Samye, Samye, I think. Samye Monastery in Tibet. That was the first monastic community in Tibet that created by these three people, these three big figures. So because of that, I put in, there's a meaning for me to put in the background, because we need help, we need we need guidance, we need blessing, we need like inspiration from their life and legacy for us, for us to involve, if sometime in the future create like a full kind of a regular resident monastery. As far as wisdom, you never know. So Guru Pema Sambhava is very important. And then Shantarakshita, of course. And then, okay, now, those times Dharma King played a great role. But these days, we have some of people who are interested to help from the zoning office or maybe the state or the federal government or whoever, anyway. So that's why I put it there. Okay, let's start. What time is now? Okay. Half an hour gone. Sorry, I just started to talk something, but I think we should do some meditation. Let's, as usual, we do, the setting the motivation. Okay. It's very important to setting proper pure motivation. Why we are learning the Buddha's teaching or the Buddhist psychology. And so why, meaning we have some goal, and the motivation has to be that I want to happiness and peace, if possible, long lasting happiness, everlasting happiness, and complete peace, meaning complete peace mean free from fear, affliction, doubt, all this negative emotion. I want to free from them. Because of that, I want to practice, right? So the motivation has to be that. So then, are we in the position to free ourselves right now? No, probably we are not. We are little children now. So because of that, we are seeking blessing, guidance from the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and like a real living, enlightened being, His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Just imagine that His Holiness the Dalai Lama in front of us very clearly. Try our best to bring him into our mind very clearly. And His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Buddha Shakyamuni, is surrounded by Buddhas and Bodhisattvas from all direction, meaning 10 direction. Okay. So they are in front of us to help us, like parents or the mothers or the teachers who are ready to help their children or their students when they are struggling. Could be study, could be work, could be anything. Same thing that the Buddhist Bodhisattva was watching us, and their compassion, their knowledge are like a shining light to eliminate the darkness of our us. So we have to visualize that if it's field, and then also the bodhicitta fields. So we want to free ourselves from suffering and the cause of suffering, and we want to attain complete peace, a long-lasting happiness, which is known as a Buddha, like enlightened or the Buddhahood. For what? In order to be able to benefit all other beings. So that's naturally lead to visualize the bodhicitta fields. I want to become a Buddha. I want to become a Bodhisattva in order to be able to benefit all beings, all mother sentient beings. So visualize all living beings, all sentient beings surrounded with us. I mean, they're all with us. In reality, they are without. If you think about that, the compassion will expand. The close feeling toward the other beings expand. If compassion expand and the close feeling toward others expand, then the hatred or feeling of distance or aversion, these will naturally subside, naturally will diminish, or naturally will become weaker and weaker. And because of that, then we can make everyone as a friends or families rather than there's no enemy out there. That's not like a bodhicitta or compassion. Okay, so we have the refuge field and then the bodhicitta fields, and then the purpose of practice, I think I already mentioned earlier. The purpose of practice is to activate our Buddha nature and unravel, meaning discover the true nature of mind, the ultimate nature of the mind and the conventional nature of the mind. We have both of them. And out of these two, the Buddha nature, the true nature of our mind, we need to know that. We need to discover that. But can we directly jump to find the ultimate nature of the mind? Maybe not. That's too advanced. So the purpose of practice is we have to learn from step by step. So because of that, the study about the mind and the mental factor is very important. Okay. Just think about the purpose of practice, or purpose of study of the the purpose of practice, the purpose of the study of the mind is to discover, to realize the true nature of mind. If you realize that you discover the true nature of the mind, then we could expand our practice. Earlier I was mentioning about renunciation, bodhicitta, and wisdom emptiness. And the renunciation the renunciation meaning is a strong kind of a wish to free ourselves from suffering, all of different forms of suffering, and then the cause of suffering. That's true renunciation. And then in order to be able to, wish to renounce suffering and the causes of suffering, I think we need to know what is the suffering, what are the causes of suffering. And because of that, suffering, there are many, many different types of suffering as that there. But if you make in category, there are three of them. Maybe suffering of suffering of suffering, suffering of change, and then pervasive condition suffering. So any form of suffering are fall into these three. Suffering of suffering, meaning example of suffering is like very acute pain. For example, if someone have like a kidney stone or gallstone, or someone who have to undergo like a surgery to remove gallstone, of course you have so much painful as that. That's actually example of suffering. So nobody wants that, right? So suffering is, even like a dog and cat can recognize as a suffering. Just recognizing suffering is not enough. We need to, recognize, identify the suffering change. All contaminant, all mundane pleasure, all mundane level, considered to be pleasure or happiness is in reality is suffering. Because they are the one that really, really what do you call it? Deceiving us actually. All mundane pleasure are in the nature of suffering. So you need to recognize, or you need to identify all the mundane level of pleasures are suffering in reality. And then the third one is very, very difficult to identify, is pervasive condition suffering. The third one is actually the basis of the first two suffering. Pervasive condition suffering. Our own body, our own five contaminated aggregate is the basis of the suffering. It's in the nature of suffering. It's not really feeling suffering. Suffering meaning, what do you think about suffering? When you say suffering, do you think suffering is a mind or body form? when you put the all existing, things put into three category. Two, sorry. I think, yeah, composite things. All composite things. All composite things are, in the nature of, sorry, all composite things are, like impermanent, right? So all impermanent things are put into three categories. The three categories are what? Form, consciousness, and then non-associated composite factors. Don't worry, don't worry. I was touching something different. I was thinking I'm going to. What was that? Oh yeah, I was explaining about the pervasive condition suffering. Pervasive condition suffering. Can I ask you, some of you, any kind of question about what? How many of you think that our own body, the very physical body that we have, is in the nature of suffering?
Yes.
Yes.
How many of you think that is in the nature of suffering? All of you? So
Yes.
our own physical body, which is pervasive condition suffering, which is just the base of all other form of suffering. Because of this contaminant, because of this body, we get so many pains, so many problems, so much, like even we consider to be pleasure or happiness, it's in reality is a suffering, right? Okay, now you all said that our own physical body is a pervasive condition of suffering. Why is that so? Anybody thought anybody have given any thought about that? Why is that so?
Is it because it's out of our control? Like we've uncontrollably taken birth in this body, and it's kind of uncontrollable, whatever ailments we may experience and so forth.
Right. Uncontrollably, we suffer, we take rebirth again and then uncontrollably. So what makes you to suffer? What makes you to take rebirth uncontrollably? I mean, as a person, we cannot control, but there are some causes that make you suffer. Scott, do you have anything? And why do you think that our own physical body is the pervasive condition of suffering? Why?
Well, it's the attachment to that body, right? Isn't it the mental attachment and the mental desires that are compounding the suffering that we experience daily? So it's that mental cognition of suffering that adds to the existent suffering of suffering of suffering and suffering of change, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, the attachment. Yeah, right. The root cause of suffering. Of course, yes, that's what you're saying. That's really true. The physical body is the basis of that arise all the other sufferings. Suffering change, and then as you say, attachment. So it goes to the cause, right? Suffering is the result. When you go to the Four Noble Truth, the suffering of the truth of suffering, and then the causes of truth of causes of suffering, and then truth of cessation of suffering, and then path that lead to the cessation, right? So truth of the suffering, which is the three that we count: suffering change, and pervasive condition of suffering. And then the truth of causes of the suffering, which is, affliction, where Scott, you're saying attachment. That's very, very, what do you call it? Which attachment is the one that really make you suffer, make us suffer, right? But then it comes from where? it's attachment. Attachment is something that, like something is so tightly, so strongly. If you, for example, it attached on attachment to your own body, and then belonging, and then the family, and then the friends. How many of you may think that attachment is good because it serves you to survive? There are some who think that for survival you need it. And for example, aggression or anger. Some people believe that certain angers you really need it because to survive or to protect you. There are some people who really think that some of this emotion you really need it for your own survival. How many you think that is you need it, that is for survival?
I don't.
In reality, not. But who? Sorry,
Oh, I was just going to say,
somebody's.
the present way that humans have evolved, you don't actually need anger and aggression to survive. You need reason, I think, more than that.
Right. So for survival, yeah, definitely we don't need anger, aggression, attachment in order to be able to survive. For in order to be able to survive, you don't need it, right? But I was just saying there are some people who think you need it. But don't worry.
Jason
So yes.
Oh, hi, this is Elise actually. So I was just gonna say that I don't think that you need a like anger or attachment to survive, but I think that sometimes something like attachment can help in your like journey like in this life because it can teach you lessons. It can show
I
you
see.
certain lessons that maybe will help in your ultimate like survival or your path to ultimately leaving samsara, I think. Or it can show
All
you like the
right.
reasons why maybe why it's good to try to leave samsara. So I don't know. But I
Well,
still ultimately don't think it's completely necessary. Yeah.
right. That's true. Thank you. That's great. That's a really good way to put it because, you know, we don't have control. That's earlier. People will say like we don't have control. We have lack of freedom. As well, we are in trapped in samsara. We don't have true freedom. And as Elise you're saying about like a aggression or attachment or anger, whether you really need or not, not necessarily, definitely not. But in order to be able to, recognize them as something that disturb you, something that really damage us, something that really obscure us to find the, achieve the complete freedom, we need to recognize them first, right? We need to recognize that. And we are experiencing all the time, actually. 24/7, we are really experiencing all this emotion all the time. Maybe some have stronger, some have little less, just it differs from person to person. But as long as we are trapped in samsara, we all have to deal with it. And attachment, aversion, these are the main kind of enemy. So there's not enemy out there cause you to suffer. And our own emotion, the affliction, our own negative emotion is really torture us all the time. So because of that, we need to study very well about our mind, how our mind and mental emotion work, and how can you really control them, and how can you really control, meaning not expressing. If you're express, try to express it, try to hide it. it may cause us stress, depression. It could lead us to depression or stress, which is not good. So with very easy, very relaxed manner, very relaxed, very open-minded, try to understand them, try to understand them, and then how to deal with very, care. If you really love ourselves very well, if you everybody love ourselves, right? Of course, right? Nobody hate. Are there any people who hate themselves? Do you know anybody of you hate yourself, or do you know anybody who hate themselves? We all cherish ourselves.
Yeah. Well, some people,
Yes.
when they're suffering from extreme depression, feel that
Mm-hmm.
they hate themselves. They have a deep, extreme suffering.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Especially some people who have some illness, like very chronic illnesses, and no matter what doctor that he or she go to see, whatever the medicine that he or she try to, sometimes it's a very, because of that, sophisticated, because of the some karmic, thing, they cannot really, recover whatever the illnesses they are going. And because of that, sometimes they get really fed up, right? You know the word that fed up? Feeling of fed up, feeling of like what? Give up, right? So that's true. There's some people tired, really tired, taking care of themselves. Yeah, that's because of that. Yeah, but well, I'm not sure whether you call it hate yourself or maybe frustrated, right? Instead of saying fed out like a hate, maybe they're very frustrated. And then when the frustration becomes so high and so extreme, then that could, that's how some people lead to suicide or hurt themselves, this kind of thing. So we should not really try to do this. Because of that, we always try to live positive all the time. And think about, we are so fortunate. We have the precious human body. And then we have met many of the great teacher and the teachings of the Buddha and all other enlightened beings. So not necessarily Buddhist, like as a religious Buddhist teaching, but the principle, how to live life fully with dignity, with understanding, with respect each other, recognizing our own values, our own, goodnesses within our mind as well as the body and speech, and continue to strengthen the positive one, and then try to minimize the negative one. So the study about Buddha, like psychology, is very important in study, and we just try to understand our own mind, how from morning to evening, how our mind really react when when some people cause you some sort of uneasy thing, or maybe not really cooperate to understand it. We all have the motivation, okay, when we set the motivation to benefit ourselves and others, right? If possible, remove all the negativity within yourself and accomplish all the positivities. And but on the journey, while we are really trying to do that, definitely we face a lot of challenges. And facing challenges, we need to face the challenge with skillful way, very understanding way. We should always keep our mind like more positive, rather than despair, or rather than discouraged, or rather than fed up. Because of that, always communicate with true smile with other people. And mind is the chief, right? Mind is the main thing that lead us this way. And because of that, we are studying about Buddhist psychology. And I think last time, what did I say? We were talking about, I don't know. Okay, what happened? Oh, these things, my tools are not cooperating. I was checking on the textbooks and it's just disappeared from my screen. But don't worry. Last time I asked, what was that? 5 omnipresent mental factors, remember? How many of you remember? I think last class we were talking about, how many main mind? Primary mind and mental factors, right? So primary mind, there are 5 or six of them. 5, sensory consciousness, which is counted as a primary mind. And then the 6th one, which is mental consciousness, right? And then, where is it? Okay, then I think, do you remember, Snails? I think I gave some kind of homework. I can't remember what, because a few things came up to me, some invitation come for conferences, writing some abstract and paper. I don't know. I'm just kind of lost, little bit overwhelmed. And then I live in the northern Nunnery. It's very, very cold. And then I thought, what I'm doing here? Just want to go to south quickly. I think I asked about 5 and 6 the men mind. Everybody have that in your fingertips, right? And then I asked actually 5 omnipresent mental factors. What are they?
I think it's
What was that?
contact, perception, sensation, intention, and attention.
Attention. Right. So contact, right. So contact, meaning, what does it mean by contact? So when the mind, the mind is a subject, okay? Subject and mind, okay, let's say the subject and the minds are the same, meaning synonymous. And when you come to contact with the object, and then these are the 5 omnipresent mental factors. Actually, do you think they arise like simultaneously or sequentially?
I think sequentially, since contact is necessary in order to. Actually, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Try. That's good. No. Try, because
Okay.
really we are experiencing all the time, but how can we really make our mind more like constructive? So I think we need to give thought about these things. How my eye consciousness actually come contact with the object. Last time we were talking about the color and shape. I remember that. We were discussing about the flower, whether the what was that? The flower, whether the flower is, flower can be cognized by the eye consciousness or not. We can debate a lot, actually. We can really debate that. Remember? And then we use like a bread, say fruit or whatever, apples, for example. How many of you think that apple can be seen by eye consciousness or not? Can the eye consciousness can perceive apple or not? Because we were talking about the five sensory consciousness, and the five sensory consciousness, their object more or less a fix. The eye consciousness can perceive only color and shape. And then the ear consciousness only cognize or perceive the sound. And then the nose consciousness can only perceive the smell. And then the tongue can only perceive the taste. And then the body consciousness only perceive the tactile or the touch. And then the mental consciousness can perceive all of them. All of them, meaning the five object of the sensory consciousness, and then beyond that, permanent, impermanent, emptiness, and all of them, precious human body, the enlightenment, path that lead to enlightenment, suffering, causes of suffering, and then the cessation of the suffering, and then the path that lead to the suffering. Path lead to the suffering. What is it? Realizing, and wisdom emptiness is the only liberating path, liberate from samsara and the causes of samsara. So these are mental consciousness can cognize, also mental consciousness can be, it's transformed. The mental consciousness can transform into the path. The wisdom emptiness, the wisdom is mental factors. But then the main mind, the primary mind, the mental consciousness also can cognize emptiness, impermanence, and it can transform into the path of accumulation, path of preparation, path of seeing, path of meditation, and path of no more learning. So our mind, I was talking when we were setting the motivation, remember that? The purpose of the practice is to activate, to discover the true nature of a mind, right? The true nature of the mind is luminous, clear, and knowing. It's, the affliction or the stain or the dirt, which is, known as, the ignorance, aversion, attachment, jealousy. These are temporarily blocking to discover, to recognize the true nature of the mind. By looking them as a unwanted thing, then we can remove them. Same thing that, for example, gold covered by mud. So the gold, when the gold is covered by mud, nobody think that's gold because it's covered by mud, because that we are not really able to see the true gold. By removing the removing the dirt and clean, washed, and then the gold will really just glow. Same thing, by removing all the affliction, we can discover, we can really make really bright, shining gold. Same thing, by removing all the affliction, attachment, aversion. How to remove? Lightening the wisdom of emptiness, understanding the true nature of the mind, and which complement with compassion, bodhicitta. So compassion is, compassion, what does it mean? Compassion meaning, the strong wish to free others from suffering. And that we make the differentiation between compassion and renunciation. So renunciation is, the main object is our own suffering, personal, whatever the suffering that we individually experiencing, recognizing them as a suffering, and then you want to free from them, free from the suffering, and then the cause of suffering. That's renunciation. And then compassion, by looking others suffering, by looking at the others suffering, and you really wish them to free from suffering. So compassion is I want to free others from suffering. Strong wish that others free from suffering. That's compassion. When you wish others free from suffering, when you see people, some others are, like undergoing so many difficulties, could be loneliness, could be depression, could be lack of food or shelter. And when you see these suffering, we have the strong compassion, we always just try to ready to go to help, whatever way you can, right? That's true compassion. Then the renunciation is recognizing our own personal kind of problem. Then you want to free from that. That's not as renunciation, loosely. But when you go to technical thing, technical meaning the true one, the real, the genuine, renunciation. If someone really cultivate, someone really, generate within your own mind like a true renunciation, then you need to understand free from suffering. Liberation, meaning nirvana. We need to understand nirvana. Otherwise, impossible to, like a genuine, true renunciation. When you say true cessation meaning true eliminate suffering and the causes of suffering, we need to understand, selflessness or wisdom. Sorry, emptiness. Okay, so let me see. Oh yeah, I was telling about like a mental consciousness, the object. So five, the sensory consciousness, their object is more like a fixed meaning. The object of this, visual consciousness cannot be seen by ear consciousness. How many of you agree with that? Because yes.
Say that again. Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah, I was saying, the five sensory consciousness, the object of the five sensory consciousness is more like a fix. The eye consciousness can perceive only visual object, no other than that. And then the ear consciousness can perceive only sound, auditory object, not other than that. And then the nose can perceive only smell, not other than that. And then the tongue can recognize or perceive only taste, not other than that. And then the physical bodily consciousness can perceive only touch or the sensation, not other than that. But the mental consciousness has the capacity to cognize everything. But then how is it possible to the mental consciousness can recognize everything? Yes. And then how? Because when you say cognize everything, meaning the mental consciousness is omniscient mind or what? I'm just joking. How many of you think like a mental consciousness is like omniscient mind? Do you know omniscient mind? Have you heard omniscient mind?
Yes.
What is it? Melinda?
Omniscient mind would be a mind that has no more obscurations, has seen emptiness directly, and has total compassion, and therefore can see of things about people and other, like with clarity.
Mm-hmm. Right. So omniscient mind, as you say, omniscient mind meaning remove all the obstacle, switch what like there are many obstacles if you name by one, but if you just put in two, affliction and cognitive, affliction and the cognitive obscuration. When you remove these two, and then the mind become omniscient mind that realize emptiness directly, and which is also accompanied by bodhicitta, right? So omniscient mind is only Buddha's mind is omniscient mind, not others, right? So I was asking about mental consciousness. We all have mental consciousness, right? We all. Otherwise, we will be like a stone or tree. If we don't have mental consciousness, then we won't be like a living beings, right? Without the mental consciousness, we there's no room that talk about suffering, nirvana, samsara, or bodhicitta, or bodhisattvas, or Buddha. These are not it doesn't make any sense, right? If the mental consciousness is not really kind of something that you know is present within us, if the mental consciousness is not in present, it doesn't make any sense, right? So my question was, the five sensory consciousness object is kind of more or less fixed, but the mental consciousness, I'm talking about the sentient being mind. Buddha's, enlightened being sensory consciousness, a different story. Okay, enlightened being, they are enlightened. They don't have any obscuration to obscure to know the reality. So they see everything is like clear, crystal clear, like anything that exists, they can see like instantly, like in just transparent, like there's no obstacle, there's no any hindrances there for them to see everything. But the mental consciousness, our sentient being mental consciousness, have the capacity to become omniscient mind. But I was saying the mental consciousness can cognize or experience everything: pleasant, pleasure, path, wisdom, and bodhicitta, and everything that we can experience. Meaning we can transform our mental consciousness, can transform into enlightened mind, right? So right now, let's, for example, just talk about our own mind right now, at this moment. How many of you think that? How many of us think that my mind can cognize everything? My mind, my mind can, my mind have the capacity to cognize everything. Do we? Can we or not? Or experience everything? Sorry, who is that?
We can transform our minds to become like Buddha's mind, to be able to do that, but not right now. No.
Not right now, exactly. So right now we have so many obstacles, right? But we believe that there's a way that you could really clear, like in order to be able to, for example, if you want to go, we have to travel from one place to another. We need to have the car or the buses or the train, and then the road is clear, and then the fuel is all in there, and then we can travel, and we can arrive to the destination where we're supposed to go. The same thing, our mind is right now, so many kind of obstacles are there, limitations are there, but that doesn't mean our mind can uh, cannot transform. Our mind can transform into bodhicitta. Our mind can transform into enlightened mind. Our mind can transform into true realization of the empty wisdom of emptiness, which is direct, which is a liberating path, meaning liberate from these samsara, the bondages. Okay, so because of that, we always should live with positive. We'll always remain ourselves there, really happy and laughter, and you know, never ever feeling that depressed, never ever feeling that kind of frustrated. These are when we feel frustrated, when we feel like a shortcoming, this because of limitations are there. So the more we think about interdependency, the more we think about the interconnectedness, the beauty of the interdependence, the beauty of the human nature. For example, we are all human beings. We can communicate, we can understand each other, we can respect each other, we can self-help each other. We are living on this blue planet together. This is only our home. We don't, even though we try to go some other planet, for example, like to the moon or to the Mars, I don't know, wherever, you know, it's a samsara, wherever you go, it's a samsara world. Okay. Remember who was the person who went to in space, and remained there for about 9 months? Sunita William. Remember that? The American spaceship. Remember that? I think when was that? Last year, right? A group of them, three or four. They went to where did they go?
The International
Scientists.
Space
Anybody
Station,
scientists?
maybe?
Space station, yes. I think Sunita William was Indian origin, who was American. She and then two or three others who went in the spaceship, and then they plan to stay in the space about like 2 or 3 weeks, but somehow they remain in the space like 9 months, and they return back to the Earth like I think sometime in February, March last year. Remember that? And when they return back to the Earth, I mean, when they landed onto the like a soil, is that they have to do a lot of physical fixing. Remember that? I was really thinking about that because because they were in space, they can just float like this, right? You could see the videos when they were in the space, because there's no like a in it's go beyond our atmosphere, right? And because of that, I think they were like they can't. There's no gravity there. They were just floating like this, like a bubble. Remember that? Some people may think that's heaven, or like some like a beyond. It's a samsara, right? Because it's a true indication that when they were there, of course they had enough food and the oxygens that then they need, but their body was not really in like a. I think they did. And once they return onto the earth, they have to do a lot of like exercise, to do a lot of health things to return them like a normal health, physical health. Remember that? So as long as we are in samsara, as long as we are living on this earth, I think it's really important for us to live very happily and harmoniously. So studying psychology, meaning we learn the skill how to live, like grounded, and then recognizing the shortcoming, and how can you really, minimize the shortcoming, and then how can you really increase the, like patient, for example, and then, like courageous to do the good thing to benefit for others and oneself. We have to be courageous to do selfish thing, very narrow-minded, very short, vision, very, like a minimal sort of thing. We shouldn't be bold. We shouldn't be courageous, discourage this to do this. Okay. So psychology, Buddhist, like, sorry, study about the mind is so important. And then the more that we learn about, we were talking about, sorry, I was just going little far. Five sensory consciousness, the object is more like a fix. That was, I was just making, but we can debate, we can discuss. Yes or no, because for example, apple, take an apple. When you debate, we do like take an apple, it follow that it is taste or touch or visual or sound or smell. What is it? When you do the dialectical and the debate, we ask this question: what is it? Anybody have an answer? Take apples as a whole. I'm not asking, the shape of the apple or the color of the apple. or the taste of the apple, or the smell of the apple, or the tactile of the apple. I'm just picking up just apple. This is really tricky, Take apple. It followed that it is taste. You debate like this.
No.
What will you
Wait,
say?
no.
Okay. No. No meaning that the apple is not taste?
Um, Correct. It is not taste.
Okay. Take apple is not food?
What was the last word you said, Geshema?
Take apple, it is not food?
Um, it, th- yes, it is food.
If it is food, it is taste?
Not it has taste as an aspect, but it is not taste. It's not necessarily really taste itself.
Why not?
Because an apple is, a composite of, it's an abstract composite, you could say, of different factors.
True.
So taste is maybe one aspect of it, but that's not what the apple is. So
Hmm. Good try. That's really good. So this debate is very important. So, whether apple considered to be food, if it is food, it should be taste. I'm just making the statement. Could be true, could be not true. But we can explore. You can explore. And when you eat apple, you can experience the taste, the the tongue bud, taste bud. We have the taste bud in our tongue, right? So I think in the neuroscience they say taste bud, but in the Buddhist the psychology book, it's actually said tongue consciousness. The tongue consciousness can experience the taste. Food is only food can be tasted by the tongue, not the hand, not the nose, not the ear, not the eye, right? So I know my statement earlier. What did I make? The five sensory consciousness object is more like a fix, meaning whatever tongue the tongue consciousness perceive cannot be perceived by the nose or the ear or the eyes or the body. But then if that is the case, there's a lot of tricky things come up. For example, some people who are like from birth, blind and deaf, but they somehow, because of the facility, because of the modern facility or whatever, they can learn writing, they can communicate through, texting. I'm so amazed. This one guy from Seattle, he's learning debate. This is true. He's participating in debate, the debate course, and he's actually deaf and blind, but he's very smart. He come with really, really good point. I was debating with him yesterday. It was so cool. And he write the question, and it's so interesting, This is so, we can learn a lot because, 1 minute, what did he say now yesterday? His question was like this. Where is it? I'll give you the question. He came with this question. We were debating. I was defender and he was challenger. He said, take ice. Ice? Take ice in pond. Is touched by human bare hand and earth element. it follow you can posit the relationship in terms of exclusive, inclusive, pre mode, and four mode. That was the question that he came up. Can you get it? What did he say? Ice in the pond, because water, H2O, we call it water, right? So water can be in solid form, liquid form, but don't go there. He said, take an ice in the pond, touched by our human bare hand. And the earth element, because the ice, it has the four elements, right? Earth, water, wind, and like heat. The four elements are there. And but then the element, scientific explanation of element, and then there may be classical textbooks elements. There may have some difference there. Maybe there's some difference there. It follows you can cause it the relationship between these two. And I was confused. What should you say? It's a good question, no? So here I was asking about blind and deaf come up this kind of question. How can the person can understand like yes, body, the body, the body consciousness is active. You can really hold it. You can experience it. But then, how did he learn like a solid? I'm sorry, like a in the pond. How did they learn? Do you know? Do you have any of you have any idea about how did they learn writing? But he's typing in the on the phone, or I mean the computer. Do you have any idea? I haven't seen this kind of school because special need. There are people who need special need of learning, right? Who are, for example, someone who is blind and deaf, but they learn how to write and read and communicate. And anybody have any idea how do they learn? What kind of skills? What kind of tools they use to, writing these things? I was so amazed. Do you have any idea? I really wanted to see this kind of school and then learn yes.
I'm not
Who's that?
totally
Somebody say
sure.
something.
I'm not totally sure, but there's what we call like Braille technology, and there's like Braille
Braille
computers.
technology.
Yeah, things
Like
that
what?
can.
How
So Braille is a writing system that uses tactile sense. I don't know if you've ever
I
seen
see.
so like each letter will correspond to a pattern of dots or just correspond to
I
something
see.
that's tactily that you can feel with your hand.
I see.
And there are
I
like
see.
computers that operate through like Braille technology. So they might have like a
Braille
Braille computer,
technology.
and then
I see. I see. Something
I'm
that.
not sure what the process
Mhm.
of like learning how to for somebody who's full,
Mm.
yeah,
It's
who's
really,
blind and deaf. That can
really
be
amazing. Yeah,
it
that's
is
great.
amazing.
Braille. How to spell Braille technology?
Let me see. I think
Braille.
Braille.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's.
You should also ask him though, because I would love to know more. So maybe maybe ask this for like, hey,
Oh, I
how are
should.
you
Yeah,
doing?
I didn't ask because he said I'm blind and deaf. And okay, let's start our debate. He said let's just wait, and then I need to fix my computer. That's what he said. And I didn't ask about what kind of computer he used. But it was so amazing. He's really, really smart about learning debate. That's wonderful. But anyway, that's good. BR, what did you say, Alice?
Braille.
Braille. Okay.
I can type it in chat too.
Yeah, I got it. I got it in my
Okay.
dictionary.
I know I can.
Okay, that's good. So I guess they are learning through the touch, right? I mean like they have like special kind of computer. I mean the technology, and they can learn and using their mind. See, this is clear that they could use the mind, and then they can type or something, and they can learn. They can communicate through that. That's wonderful. But anyways, that's good. Yeah, I remember one time when I was kind of funny in 2017, and I was walking. I just walked to the classroom from the apartment to the library or whatever, and I saw there was one girl. She looks like a really completely blind, but she just have like stick, and she always walk, not really taking the shuttle or the car or the driving or anything. She always walk with a stick, and then when I'm not sure about she can hear or not. She just the stick put like this, and then she knows how to get just using the sidewalk with her stick. And I always see her like talk walking to the university, like a library or the classroom, and then keep walking back just alone, because I never seen that using just this stick, and then find the right path that leads to wherever she or he supposed to go. Because I saw in India sometimes there was like a blind, and then someone who can see, they can lead them to wherever they go. But never saw that the blind person just walk with their own independently using the stick, or maybe using like a using different special kind of technology to communicate and learn. This is so good. So anyway, so I think we should stop now. It's kind of cold. It's already 10 o'clock. Thank you so much. We didn't go to the text much, but don't worry, because these are, we are talking about how to really tackle, how to really, work with our mind. So these are pretty important thing. I think we said the three principal aspects of the path. Next time, remember, okay? Renunciation, bodhicitta, and wisdom emptiness. These three are known as the three principal aspects of the path. So when you study Lamrim, the gradual path to enlightenment by Lama Tsongkhapa, these three are the main topics, and then elaborate, and they become like these thick books. This is only just one. There are 18 different types of books that are written by Lama Tsongkhapa. Very, very important, okay? And then what does it mean by renunciation? Renunciation means renounce, suffering or misery, and then the causes of suffering. And then bodhicitta meaning, compassion or bodhicitta. Compassion is wish to others free from suffering. And renunciation is wish free oneself from suffering. That's the difference. And then wisdom emptiness can free both oneself as well as others from suffering and the cause of suffering, and not only suffering and cause of suffering, but also have the power to achieve complete Buddhahood, enlightenment, to benefit infinite beings. Okay. So thank you so much for coming, and we will dedicate just take a few seconds to expand our heart. Just think about what kind of suffering, what kind of difficulties going around the world, and just feel like I really wish everyone free from the top problem, the suffering, and all beings live harmoniously and benefiting each other rather than hurting each other. And we are learning, we are studying to benefit ourselves and others. And whatever the virtues or whatever the positive, activities or action that we have created, to dedicate for the well-being of all beings. Okay, so thank you so much and have a good day,
Thank you,
everyone.
Geshema.
Thank you. So good to see you all and enjoy your day. And I hope it's not that cold. Well, it's good to have snow, but we didn't have snow here, but it's a little cold here. So I'm going to South India on the 7th. So I'll be in the warmer place. Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Geshema.
Thank you,
Thanks, everybody.
Geshema.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Chi. Bye-bye. Okay. And Nils and Melinda, enjoy tea.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.